Major Garrett is in Milwaukee. Major, thanks for joining us. Who stood out to you the most last night?
Look, I think everyone had a strategy and everyone has a pretty well-defined lane in this Republican nomination process. And talking to all the campaigns afterwards, most of them felt that they did well with their campaign message and the lane that they're in. What I'm trying to get at is no one I talked to after the debate representing the various campaigns thought that this debate changed the underlying fundamentals of this race, which means it's good news for Ben Carson and Donald Trump, still the front runners, and everyone else is trying to find a way to get closer to them. No breakout moments, no huge stumbles. So in the main, last night's debate was interesting, substantive, good, memorable exchanges, but this is the perspective of the campaigns, not mine. Nobody really thought there was a game changer last night.
Major, you mentioned Ben Carson. He addressed the controversy surrounding his personal history and tied in Hillary Clinton in his response. Let's listen to that.
Thank you for not asking me what I said in the 10th grade. I appreciate that. The fact of the matter is, you know, what we should vet all candidates. I have no problem with being vetted. What I do have a problem with is being lied about and then putting that out there as truth. When I look at somebody like Hillary Clinton, who sits there and tells her daughter and a government official that, no, this was a terrorist attack, and then tells everybody else that it was a video, where I came from, they call that a lie.
Major, you caught up with Dr. Carson in the spin room. What did he have to say?
So I asked him, you have said that you don't have to corroborate everything you've said about your own life story, which is a kind of interesting standard. Previously, Ben Carson had said, look, if you're going to accuse me of being dishonest or misrepresenting some part of my past, prove to me that I did that. Now he's basically saying, if you find something that's inconsistent with either what I've written about myself in his many books or what I've said about myself in speeches, I don't have to corroborate or defend all that. Look, for his supporters, that may be sufficient. That may vindicate him on the biography side of his life, which has been very important to his rise in the polls. Other voters may reach different conclusions. The question sort of comes, well, did he lay all of that to rest last night? I don't think someone whose campaign is driven a good measure by his biography can ever lay forever to rest questions about that underlying story. How Ben Carson deals with them going forward and whether genuine inaccuracies that really speak to his authenticity are raised has yet to be determined. So this issue is not over, but Ben Carson has gotten over the most difficult part of it, at least so far.
Major, let's switch gears and talk about immigration. It was a major issue last night. John Kasich and Jeb Bush both going after Trump for his ideas about deporting millions of people, and then Ted Cruz siding with Trump. Explain the significance of the debate on immigration.
So for Republican primary and caucus voters, the key word is amnesty and deportation. The key two words are amnesty and deportation. Many Trump supporters and a good number of Cruz supporters want a much harder line than most establishment Republicans are willing to take on this question. They would like to see much greater deportation, and they want a larger wall built to achieve what they hope would be complete border security, essentially sealing off the southern border between the United States and Mexico. Jeb Bush and John Kasich putting together what you'd have to argue is a much more carefully honed general election argument, say that's impractical, costly, and inhumane. This is a roiling debate among Republican primary and caucus voters, and one of the most important indicators in Iowa, New Hampshire, and South Carolina is going to be which side of the Republican Party wins that debate. Because if Trump or Cruz win the majority of votes on this question, that is going to be part and parcel of the Republican Party attitude toward immigration from a policy perspective. If Jeb Bush and John Kasich and others who are more tolerant on this question win, then that issue will shift in their direction. It's still a jump ball, it's up for grabs, and that is one of the most important underlying subplots in this Republican primary and caucus process.
Finally, Major, what is the state of play, you think, for Donald Trump out of this debate? Because some of the answers that we heard certainly seem to be a bit more substantive than we've heard in the past.
a bit more substantive, but he wasn't universally on his game. And I think his demeanor in the spin room afterward indicated that he was less satisfied than he had been before with the debate performances and how it was received. He did spend a good deal of time talking about Chinese currency manipulation, which is a legitimate economic issue. It has raised bipartisan concern in Congress for years, but he tied it in with the conversation about the Trans-Pacific Partnership, the trade deal pending before Congress. Well, China is not a part of that deal, something that Rand Paul pointed out, and that kind of undermined a little bit of Donald Trump's argument. There was also a very big clash with Jeb Bush and others over whether or not the United States should sort of cede the battle against ISIS in Syria to the Russians. Jeb Bush said fundamentally that was a mistake, borderline naive. So Donald Trump did have some substantive answers last night, but he got pushback on a lot of them: immigration, ISIS, and to a certain degree, Chinese currency manipulation, the Trans-Pacific Partnership. What that indicates to me is Donald Trump is fully engaged in this process on the substantive side, but Republicans are no longer shy in any way, shape, or form about challenging him because they know time is dwindling, and if you're going to take on Trump, you better do it now.
All right, Major Garrett breaking it all down for us. Thank you.
You got it.